Have you ever felt that no matter how hard you strive, there is an invisible barrier between who you are today and the person you know you were born to be? It is not a lack of talent, it is not a lack of opportunity, and it is definitely not a lack of will. It is something more subtle, a kind of background noise that drains your energy and distorts your vision, making your days feel like a weary repetition of problems you should have solved by now. Perhaps you feel it as you lay your head on the pillow, that restlessness, the sense that you are running on a treadmill, exerting force but staying in the exact same place. What I'm about to reveal to you is not an obvious mistake that everyone can point out, but a psychological and spiritual trap so well camouflaged that we have come to call it routine or a personality trait, when in reality it is the poison paralyzing your real purpose. This trap goes by the name of emotional reactivity disguised as productivity. We live in a constant state of high alert, reacting to the demands of others, workplace crises, and the chaos of social media, firmly believing that we are leading our lives. But the truth is, if you are only reacting, you aren't leading anything. You are merely a luxury passenger of your circumstances. There is a hidden principle in psychological maturity which states that our freedom does not lie in what happens to us, but in the sacred space that exists between the stimulus and our response. It is in that space that your self-mastery and your connection to the eternal reside. If that space is non-existent, you are living in survival mode, and no one can fulfill a grand purpose while they are just trying not to drown. Think about the difficult conversations you avoided last week. Think about those important decisions you postponed because the stress of daily life didn't allow you to think clearly. What happened there was a hijacking of your soul. The Bible offers us a key of ancient wisdom when it says that a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. In the context of personal leadership and behavioral psychology, this means that without internal boundaries and without mastery over your emotions, any wind of criticism or any wave of anxiety can invade your territory and plunder your peace. You become an open city, vulnerable to external influences that dictate what you should feel and how you should act. Often we seek magic success formulas or time management strategies, but the problem isn't the clock, it's the heart.
The heart here is understood as the center of our decisions and affections. Modern psychology calls this emotional regulation, but the scriptures call it guarding the heart. If you do not guard the source, the water flowing from it will always be murky. When you find yourself exploding over small things or feeling deeply discouraged by an irrelevant comment, you have received a warning sign that your emotional maturity is below the level required by your calling. The invisible trap is believing the problem is out there, in difficult people or market pressure, when the real conflict is your inability to maintain internal stability while the external world shakes. Imagine a leader who, faced with a financial crisis or team conflict, loses their cool and acts on impulse. They might have the title, but they don't have the authority. Real authority is born from inner dominion. It is the ability to look at chaos and say, "This is real, but it is not greater than the peace that governs me." Jesus demonstrated this perfectly. In the middle of a storm that terrified experienced men of the sea, he slept. That wasn't indifference. It was the ultimate manifestation of a spirit governed by principles, not circumstances. He knew who he was and where he was going. And you? Do you know where your life is headed, or are you just following the flow of whatever is most urgent at the moment? The mistake pulling you away from your purpose is the outsourcing of your happiness and stability. You gave the key to your peace to people who don't even know how to look after their own lives. You allowed social approval to be the thermometer of your validity. This creates an unnecessary weight. Practical spirituality teaches us that God's yoke is easy, but the world's yoke is crushing. If you feel exhausted all the time, perhaps you are carrying expectations that were never yours to begin with. Real purpose isn't about accumulating achievements to prove something to someone,
but about becoming the person who can sustain the weight of the glory they were created for. Here is the great shift in consciousness. The moment the fog clears, your purpose is not something you find on an external map, but something you release from the inside out as you become emotionally mature and spiritually aligned. The invisible trap is the search for a change of scenery, when what you need is a change of the observer. As long as you remain the same reactive, immature, and validation-dependent self, any new scenario will become the same old prison.
True freedom begins when you take total responsibility for your internal state, when you understand that your psychological maturity is the soil where your spirituality bears fruit. Living based on biblical principles isn't about following a list of moral rules. It's about adopting a new mental configuration. It is understanding that all things work together for good, not as a cheap consolation, but as a leadership strategy. The ability to extract learning and growth from every pain, every betrayal, and every failure. This is high-level emotional mastery. It is ceasing to be a victim of the story to become the author under the creator's guidance. When you decide that your emotions will be servants of your vision rather than masters of your destiny, the trap loses its power over you. From today on, I invite you to observe your response space. Before reacting, breathe. Before despairing, remember who you are. Leading yourself is the hardest task you will ever face, but it is the only one truly worth it. Don't let the noise of the world silence the voice of your conscience and the call of your purpose. The path of maturity is narrow and requires renunciation, renouncing the right to feel offended, renouncing the need to be right, and renouncing control over what you cannot change. But at the end of that path, there is a life of impact and a peace that transcends all understanding. I would like you to reflect now. What is the situation or the person that has been stealing your peace the most lately? The answer to that question reveals where your wall is low. Perhaps it's time to rebuild those walls and retake the government of your own life. If this journey of self-mastery and depth makes sense to you, start today by watching the small reactions of your day. Your real purpose is waiting for someone who is mature enough to carry it. It would be a privilege to know how you intend to take that first step toward your inner dominion. How about we start this conversation right now by identifying which behavior pattern you decide to abandon from this moment on, so you never fall into this trap again. If this code makes sense to you and you wish to retake the government of your life, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next key.